got to get sworn in, but they don't have the paperwork. It's upstairs at Jay's.
Oh, dear.
All right. Well, what a fine group we are this afternoon. So I'm calling our August 20th Lebanon Energy Advisory Committee meeting to order. And I guess, Chris, would you like to read us the preamble?
This meeting is being conducted in accordance with RSA 91A. It is being conducted in the Lebanon City Council chambers and also through the city's virtual platform. If you wish to participate remotely, there are instructions on how to enter the meeting available on the city's website, lebanonnh.gov/live. You can also participate by phone, and instructions on how to do so are available on the city's website. If you have any difficulty accessing the meeting through the virtual platform or by phone, you can email me and I will try to assist you as best I can. Please note that if there is a problem with the remote meeting platforms, the meeting will continue as the only legal requirement under RSA 91A is to have an in-person meeting. If you are participating remotely or by phone and you wish to speak when public comment is allowed, you can simply unmute yourself and begin speaking. Please do not worry about the raise hand feature. Please state your name and your ward of residence. If you live in another community, please state the name of the community where you live. For individuals attending in person, if you have a comment or question, please step to the microphone or to the presenter's table, and when recognized by the chair. Please remember to state your name and ward of residence if you live in Lebanon, or the name of the community where you live if it's somewhere other than Lebanon. If appropriate, please be prepared to spell your name for the recording secretary.
Thanks, Chris. And let's do a roll call, please.
Sherry Boschert is present, which means we don't have to do a roll call vote for other things, right?
Bill Stearns present.
Henry Bromberg.
Clifton Below.
Patrick Kennelly.
Woody Rose.
John Chaffee.
And we also have Doug Cogan
Clean Energy New Hampshire.
visiting us today.
Yeah.
Thank you, Doug. Well, then next we should approve the minutes, or are there any additions?
I do have some, and I emailed them. So is Cindy online, or are we not online today?
Cindy's on.
I'm online, Clifton. Yes, did you just send it today, the email?
Like right before 3:30.
Okay, well, I will take care of what you sent me. No problem.
I can read through it on my little screen. I meant to bring my laptop, but I forgot. But
Let me take a look real quick. I might save you some time. I don't mind at all.
Okay.
Okay, I'm not.
Everybody probably actually got it.
Oh, here it is. Okay.
Chris, you have it too. You could even display it then to Teams. So on the first page at line 27, yep. Wait to see if she finds it.
Okay.
It's page 3 of the PDF or so. No, page 8. No, I don't know.
I'm seeing your, here's the, I see your email. I just don't see the suggested edits, but should I click the link?
No, it would be the attached PDF.
Page
Oh,
3.
it is the attachment. Okay, gotcha.
Yes.
Page 3 of 9, line 27.
So I'll just read that.
Got
It's sort of at the end of a long sentence about the rate deferrals practiced by Liberty that are currently in excess of 8 million, which continue to result in them offering lower rates, then strike some competition and insert actual costs. So offering lower rates than actual costs. And then on the next page at line 4 or 5, line 5, where it says they decided they would direct Liberty, change that so they had previously decided to direct Liberty.
Okay.
At line 22, towards the end of this sentence, it would mean CPC&H and other utility customers would be subsidized subsidizing instead of deficient, default service, subsidizing the default service customers because of Liberty's proxy rates instead of the word accounting. In this case, oh, I'm sorry, in the previous sentence, it should have read CPC&H and other non-utility customers would be subsidizing default service customers because of Liberty's proxy rates in this case, having artificially set rates below the cost of service.
Okay,
And then at the end of the next paragraph at line 28, not just their default service customers. And then at line 31, after ESAF, insert after energy service adjustment factor. And then on the next page, at the top of the next page, I just suggest striking the first sentence. And then in the next paragraph, there's references to Mr. Tom Corman and Ms. Kat McGee. That can be all reps, just they're representatives, state representatives. So you could just do REPS, period. Tom Corman and Representative Kat McGee. That's all. That's enough.
easy enough, thank you.
Okay, any other changes? Then is there a motion to approve the minutes as amended?
So moved.
Sherry,
Oh, second.
second, and
John.
John seconds. And all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Oh, the ayes have it, and the minutes as edited are approved. Then we know where to start. If you're ready, Cliff.
Oh dear. I wish I had brought my laptop because I'd try to share some things from the website. But I think, you know, the good news, and I realized reviewing the minutes that I was just saying we think we're going to have lower rates. We do have lower rates by more than a penny per kilowatt hour for the small customer group. And for 5 of the 7 months, 5 of the 6 months, 5 of the next 6 months, our rate for the large customer group is also lower than a Liberty's rate. So that's all really good news. I was able to present that to the city council because I think their meeting was after the last LEAC meeting when I had those numbers, but I don't have them here to show. But that's all good news. A mailer did go out for a refresh because if you'll recall early in the year we adopted a refresh policy that said we wouldn't enroll new default service customers with the 30-day notice that they could opt out unless our rates were lower than Liberty's. And since they were across the board for the 6-month period, I think it was close to 2,000 new customers have become part of the Lebanon community since the last refresh, mostly by turnover from apartments and homes, but some businesses, new businesses and such. And so I don't have the numbers, but that will sort of increase the enrollment. We're on a pretty good track to good financial recovery. We ended June with a positive net balance for the first time since the end of last year, for the first time this year, because there was a big dip that we experienced and many others did, the utilities as well, because of this new charge called the Day Ahead Ancillary Services Initiative, DAISY charges. But in any case, it turned out to be $1 billion when they estimated it might be $100 million cost, across New England, that is, of course. But in any case, the other part of the good news is that a new finance director and a new was started back in June, But she's been accomplishing a great deal of work. She has a lot of experience. Rashida Maruda. She's previously was the chief financial officer for, I think it's the MTBA, the big Massachusetts Transportation Authority. So that's a semi-governmental or governmental instrumentality like us. So she's very familiar with, our accounting and working with utilities and such. And also director of power operations. It comes with a very interesting and strong background. He's relocating from, I don't have the details, but he is relocating where he was working out in the Midwest somewhere. But he has some New England roots and connections. So that's all good. And I think there's ongoing negotiation to extend our contract with Calpine, which should allow us to hedge energy costs further out in time, which can help us lower cost. And there are several other initiatives that we foresee helping us to be more competitive across the state. The other sort of big news was that we had our annual legislative and regulatory policy planning retreat towards the end of July, I'm sorry. Of course, that's the committee that I chair. And what I'd like to show you, but you could look on your own, is if you go to the website, there is a button for meetings, and you can go back in the calendar to that meeting at the end of July and click on the agenda. And the agenda will also have hyperlinks to some presentations and such. But I think the good news that some of the highlights were, and some of this is also reported in summary format in the summer newsletter that just went out. And I'm just wondering if people don't have that, you could go onto the website, communitypowernh.gov, and sign up to get the newsletter. So that reports on a lot of developments. But on that front, it turns out that all of our high priority bills that we were advocating for have been signed into law. So that's a really positive year for us. And some, but not all the ones that we were concerned about or opposed to, some did go by the wayside, like the effort to repeal the tax exemption for solar systems, which is a just voluntary one that communities can opt into. Lebanon, of course, had one for quite a while. But in any case, that it was good, and the governor has had a fairly major push, as well as the current majority in the legislature has had I would say, infatuation with small modular reactors and that development. And the governor's asked, through an executive order at the beginning of this year, directed the Department of Energy to develop a roadmap for advanced nuclear, and that particular focus is small modular reactors. Well, as I've sort of learned about this, there's a whole additional sort of category below that of micro modular reactors or micro reactors that are in the scale from 100 kW to 5 megawatts, or perhaps a little bigger, that basically heat machines that can drive a high temperature electric generation cycle and put off byproduct heat as well, more thermal energy than electrical energy, but they're being scaled and being procured, going in, aiming to develop pilots with different Department of Defense facilities. And the NRC has also created a new sort of a custom regulatory framework for these. This all began under Biden administration, and the current administration has carried through with that. So at the end of June, the governor, the Department of Energy held a 3-day stakeholder meetings in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, at the Department of Environmental Services offices there, actually, at the Pease Development Authority. And they had 2 days of presentations, and then the third day was a public hearing. And we wanted to sort of track this because it is under the purview of the Director of Innovation at the Department of Energy, who has also been working on incorporating batteries and enabling microgrids in New Hampshire. And it kind of came to our realization that there is a potential opportunity to align the Director of Innovation at the Department of Energy and Governor Ayotte are looking at, and what we're been trying to achieve, and which of course is a central focus of our legislative efforts and regulatory efforts, which is the ability to be direct off-takers of local distributed generation and storage, and to be able to get the full value stack that the utilities can claim if they make similar investments in distributed energy resources, which they're ramping up to do as we speak. Because that can help create a higher value niche, I mean, the hypothesis around these is that there might find early commercial application for where they can serve a lot of on-site load, which is the most valuable. And of course, we in New England have some of the highest rates in the country. And obviously a customer that has a high value for resiliency, not losing power. But the other sort of extension of that niche would be if to the extent they have exports to the grid, they can be accounted for as load reducers, where you avoid ISO New England cost for both not just energy, but also capacity and transmission charges, just like we've been trying to achieve for solar plus storage, and as a way for us to be direct off-takers. And this is sort of significant because it's kind of, I think there's a general recognition that the economics of this puts this off sometime in the future. But in sort of trying to figure out a legislative strategy, and we were explicit about this. Most of our communities are interested in solar plus storage now, community storage, where those benefits can be of a stable, lower cost power resource can be realized locally. And that is what makes economic sense today and is the fastest thing to deliver. But at the same time, if for those who are focused on an all of the above strategy and enabling SMRs and MMRs that may or may not be commercially feasible sometime in the somewhat distant future, 5, 10, 15 years out. It's not clear if or when. But in the meantime, it should be part of a roadmap for enabling distributed energy resources. And some of our communities may very well be interested in it at some point as a low carbon strategy, which is certainly a central sort of feature of it being a non-emitting baseload resource. Not that there isn't carbon impact to manufacturing the fuel or building the facility, just like there's with PV or anything else. So that's kind of an interesting dimension, I guess, to the current sort of political situation. But we've been working closely with some legislators on both sides of the aisle trying to prepare for whatever happens, whether Governor Ayotte's reelected or whether Cindy Warmington might win in a wave election. It's possible. So we're sort of very actively engaged in working on that. By we, I mean the organization as a whole, which is better staffed than it ever has been right now, but also Dennis in particular. And we have some help from consulting Main Street strategic as well. So there's some highlights. I think we're on a really good path right now. And I think, we've been hopeful that this might be the year, regardless of who's governor, where we can get some of these important reforms in place finally tracking. And it aligns with the fact that one of the three utilities, Unitil, which is very supportive of enabling distributed energy resources and is the one who has invested the most in it so far with their 4.9 megawatt single access tracker project. In their movement to being willing to change load settlement, points to a direction that the time may be finally coming for us to get the sort of structural barriers to realizing what we've been trying to realize for so long in place. So that's my sort of overview.
Cliff, the two concerns that come up for me about talking about nuclear of any kind really is, I would hope it would not be used as an excuse to delay going to the proven technologies that we need now, like solar, and of course, nuclear waste. Never hearing any answer to that question about nuclear waste. But I wonder if you have seen any analyses of you referred to it as a lower greenhouse gas emissions alternative maybe, but have you seen analyses that include the building of the nuclear plant and all that? Because there's a lot of concrete.
Yeah, well, and in the Southwest, historically, it's coal-generated electricity that was used for uranium mining and initial processing. So I always objected when people say it was carbon-free. I said, no, it isn't. You have to look at what goes into making the fuel and everything. And disposing of the fuel ultimately, what is the carbon footprint of that? I'm sure there have been such studies. I've seen generalized reference, but certainly there's a lot of people who are passionate about climate who've looked at this and feel that it should be considered as part of our future. I'm upfront with people when I talk about this. I was an active member of the Clamshell Alliance and was arrested on the Seabrook nuclear site.
And I was at the same time arrested on the West Coast.
Okay.
Okay.
And I'm still in touch with some of those old clams from 50 years ago. It's actually 50 years ago. I guess this coming spring, I think it was spring of 1977. But in any case, it is very interesting the amount of thought that has gone into this and how fast this has developed. I think because I wasn't really paying attention to it for quite a while, except remain skeptical and very much sort of understand some of the science and the problem of radioactive isotopes in the environment. And the clamshell's actually reviving itself and doing a presentation on that in September sometime, a virtual one with folks from around 3 Mile Island who've looked at the long-term studies there. Certainly, those are all important issues, but I think at this point, this was an educational a program that we did as part of the retreat. And we don't have a recording of it, but we do have the slides, and I could reprise the slides. That's sort of what I did. I put together sort of a slide deck and explained why this was of interest in terms of wanting to bring to the attention the Department of Energy, which the governor will look to in opining on whether to veto the legislation. We think it's likely we'll be able to get the legislation passed. The question is, can we get, if it's Governor Ayotte, her on board? And so part of this, because I'm not worried about this coming on too fast, because it's nowhere near commercialized. I mean, people think of a path where it might be commercialized within 5 years, as soon as possibly. But at this point, it's sort of an educational thing. So the slides have some of that education and some links, so you can look at what people are looking at and why some people are so enthusiastic about it. The near term and the good recognition is that what's available, at least for the next few years, very rapidly at solar plus storage, and some remarkable things are going on globally. In Australia, they have flattened the duck curve. In some of the electrical regions, like equivalent to our ISOs, except Australia is so big that they have disaggregated grids and a lot of microgrids. But in one of the large grids that had a steep duck curve, batteries are clearing the price. They've had like double the investment over the past couple of years, then a huge increase over the past year. And they have literally flattened the duck curve. It's just the slightest little bump. And then the valley's completely filled. And the evening bump has come way down because it's all batteries are setting the clearing price like a third of the time. So this has all just sort of happened in the past year. And if it weren't for the crazy tariffs and the trade wars that this country has gotten itself involved in, I think, the cost of batteries is going to continue to come down. And some of the other folks that we're partnering with, because we do have been engaging with others like Clean Energy New Hampshire and CLF and New Hampshire Municipal Association and the Business and Industry Association and Revision Energy, all folks we've been meeting with to start really talk about the legislative agenda and how to get some of these things potentially done over the next couple of years.
On a slightly different note, I just got back from out of town, but I'm going to forward this to all of you, and it's something that CPC&H may be interested in, but you're probably way ahead of me on this. There's a webinar coming up in September about virtual power plants, which is not just battery storage, but also EVs and demand control, and all these different things you can do to have a virtual power plant. So I think that's something we should be thinking of.
It's actually very central. It's funny because one of the person who will be the sponsor of the legislation has a draft. And he just sent it to me this afternoon. I haven't looked at it yet, but we had worked with him last year a little bit. The interesting thing that's happened there is there's a real tension between the movement for the utilities being the ones and only ones who do VPPs within a regulatory structure versus using price signals as the primary control mechanism. You have devices or aggregators or systems, whatever, respond to dynamic prices that reflect the actual underlying cost. And what that does mean is measuring coincident peak at least an hourly interval, because that's when transmission and capacity costs are incurred on a single hour in a given period, a month, a year currently for capacity, but capacity market's about to change in ISO New England to instead of a forward capacity market into a prompt month capacity market. I don't really understand at this point, but the point is it does require a few things. But that tension is sort of apparent almost globally between whether regulated monopolies going to be the one doing this, and the utilities are kind of trying to move into that space with their new energy efficiency New Hampshire Saves plan, where in part thanks to the legislation that we drafted and helped get passed that enables battery storage, both freestanding and as part of net metering, more clearly, all of the utilities are sort of jumping on that and saying, let us do programs that incentivize and control the batteries. You give up some control where they can dispatch it as a VPP in exchange for an incentive that helps buy down the cost of it or whatever. But that at the same time, they justify it on a value stack that includes avoided energy, ancillary services, capacity, and transmission charges from ISO New England. That's how that investment is justified and put into rates as part of the system benefit charge. What we're asking for is those same values. We can, if you meter it, we can get credit if you allow us to count negatives, if you allow us to, if you change your systems to do simple math, to be able to add positive and negative numbers to show the net load that we're serving after we take our off-takers from local distributed generation and storage, if you just make that one change, then that enables us to get full value for the avoided energy cost. Capacity has to go along with that in some way, but there's an easy way to do it, which is to just measure what is exported onto the grid. And ideally, when you have AMI for everybody, smart meters like Unitil is on the verge of having fully implemented, then you can enroll your whole, as many people in your customer base as want to enroll to become part of a VPP. But the way it is developing is the utilities are saying that would cost money for new meters, or that would cost money to change load settlement. But at least one utility is already saying, yeah, this is something we should do and are going to do. So that's, sort of where we're at in terms of enabling VPPs. And so that's really what this whole thing I was talking about is part of that sort of legislative objective or strategy, I should say, or tactics. Yeah. It's strategy and tactics, but we it's going to be a lot easier if they're supporters within the Department of Energy, or the Department of Energy says, hey, there's some merit to these ideas here that align with the governor's goal and our goal, but I think economics of solar plus storage is going to win in the short run, and that's not a bad thing. And I think even she might admit that, because she is very insistent that she's for all of the above. But we shouldn't just put all of our eggs in the baskets of solar plus storage and wind. But,
Thank you for that.
yeah.
So, Cliff, going way back, what are the reserves of CPC&H now? We blew through a lot of millions.
We're positive they're growing each month. They will dip in the winter, in January and February in particular. But they're, I don't have the numbers in front of me. They're all in the board reports. You can look at the board meeting agendas, and when you look at the calendar, and when you click on that, you'll be able to see the agenda, and you can click on the financial reports. You can contrast financial reports prior to the ones at the beginning of August were the new format that the new finance director has put into place, and they're much, much better than what we had been doing sort of on our own, if you will. Not really on our own. I mean, they were, a CPA and the folks who provide accounting services and such that but they were sort of traditional. The presentation was more in the context of the traditional balance sheet and income statement versus a real good summary and explanation of the key indicators and the key metrics that we're monitoring that are sort of important to us. There's just a lot of that information there. If I'd had my laptop, I could call it up. But it is, we have a goal of getting to a certain level of reserves in terms of number of days. And, sort of balancing that off with trying to, at this point, keep our rates as close as we can to the utility rates. But know that they are set at a level that we're going to recover our costs. And, of course, the difficult thing is, and we're hopeful that the next time period for Eversource and Unitil will get that chance, because we're involved in 3 proceedings with each of the utilities to change their method for doing proxy price, because across the board, the method that essentially the former chairman of the PUC that the governor fired, in effect, Chairman Goldner, he had essentially put into place this proxy price method, which was untested and unanalyzed as to whether it was a way to accurately forecast with future rates. And we did an analysis 15 months ago that said this methodology will systemically be more likely than not to result in undercollections, and the magnitude of undercollections is extremely likely to be larger than the magnitude of overcollections. And that has now proven the case over 3 or 4 of these rate periods. And Eversource actually did a really nice analysis and said, look, at the beginning of this whole process, we said you should use the lowest accepted bid for their default service, for their fixed price default service. They do it in a tranche. And so they get some bids, and the top 3 or 4, I guess the top 4 will get a slice of their default service load. So they take the lowest accepted bidder. And they were able to show that using that methodology, which is relying upon the market experts for the supplier companies who are themselves forecasting or hedging the market at that point in time, it turns out that would have resulted in, number one, higher rates than they actually set, but number two, and much closer than ours, or perhaps even above ours, and two, it would have resulted in there being much fewer under collections, but not actually resulted in over collections, but would have been much closer. And that's the problem, is they, particularly Eversource and Liberty, have these relatively large balances that sort of net out, that don't really offset the proxy price. So for this current period, they may well, continue to undercollect some, but they're likely, the commission, everything's queued up so that they'll change their method, and the method will more likely than not result in them setting a higher rate that's more likely to cover the cost of service starting on next February. So that's why we're optimistic that if they're not underpricing their actual cost, then we're going to be able to compete a lot better. Yeah, so sorry to be so wonky.
Well, there was a lot of information you needed to share. Thanks, Cliff. Okay. Next is the landfill gas to energy.
So the plant was down most of the month of July due to a chiller failure again. We were able to get that upsized in a different brand through Unison, who's the manufacturer of the conditioning skid. So we are back online. We are in the process of getting contracted for our media change that's due. And the director and I have a meeting with City Council on September 2nd to give the financial outlook, basically the rundown for the gas plant. So we've been working on putting that together. We're running in the red, but it's less red than if we shut everything down and just had the bond payment. So there are pros to running it, and hopefully as it continues and we continue tweaking stuff, that red number will be less and less, and we'll get it to the black. But the problem is we're just not generating what was initially anticipated for the 1 meg an hour. We're not even close to that, and that's where we're falling short.
Liberty's rates are going up, or have just gone up, and will be somewhat higher. So that at least should help your compensation rate a little bit more.
Right, and I have taken that into account for the anticipated for 27 for the expected, and our staff at the facility has worked with, it's Veritas now, it used to be Virgin, and made some tweaks within the pressure within the gas collection system. And prior to the plant going down in July, we were actually running 4 microturbines, which is what our max was in the wintertime with the ground frozen. So I think some things are there. I think once the capping is in place, that's going to help as well. So I think we're moving in the right direction to see some positive gains. We're really early into operations and still working some of the kinks out of this.
Yeah.
Thanks, Chris. Sherry?
EV subcommittee, number of things. Bill, you want to give an update on e-bike stuff?
Sure, we're getting quotes for running the electrical lines over at the maintenance building for e-bike charging here in Lebanon. We also got word from the Enfield Group that they have an e-bike charging station up on Main Street with 4 stands, and it's up and running. So we hope to be following them soon.
And they did that with Bill's help, so they beat us to it. They have the first e-bike charging station in the Upper Valley, but we're getting there. I mean, we have narrowed it down to the most feasible site is the Parks and Rec Maintenance Building by the ball field behind CCBA near the community garden. And we're just close to getting an electrician's estimate. We think we have enough money to do this already. I'll let you know if we don't, but we're getting there. Moving on to a different topic. So it's been a while since we met, right? Clifton and I attended a planning board meeting 6 or 7 weeks ago to talk about the site plan review process. Remember way back when we amended the zoning ordinance regulations to allow low power level 2 charging at new developments, and attached to that was supposed to be some amendments to the site plan review process. And that never happened, so we went and said, hey, what about the site plan review amendments? We should do this, right? You all agreed we should do this. City council agreed we should do this. And we had a good conversation, and the planning board seemed to, and staff seemed to agree to pursue that, and it's not been on the agenda since. Have you, Patrick, have you heard anything?
No,
So-
I wasn't at the last meeting, but I haven't seen it on the agenda.
Will you be at the meeting Monday coming up?
Yes,
Could you ask about this and
Yes.
try and get it on the agenda?
yeah.
Because there's developments keep coming, and now
We should have asked Nate when we met with him.
we should have asked Nate, right? Now, and I know Tim Corwin has been on vacation for part of
Right.
this time, and it's really he's the staff liaison to the planning board.
Yeah.
But it's not like a lot needs to happen, it just needs to happen.
But we had this other meeting. I guess
Yes,
like
so,
moving
yes,
off of
so
the-
segueing from that, so I want to get that rolling again.
Yeah.
I
And I'll-
think the problem is there are so many other things that and it has to be reconstituted now. The subcommittee, which was going to be in charge of the regulations, kind of some members are gone, and that's just has to be restarted. And it's on the list. There is a list. There is a desire to do it. It just needs poking.
But now with the revival of the affordable housing on Spencer Street, it's like,
There's a
that's coming up, and if we don't have the site plan review, then we basically gutted the EV requirements without that. Because all I have to do is put in outlets for 5% of the units. I mean, that's nothing. So we just need to get this done. So I will probably lurk at the meeting on Monday if I can, to give a little nudge, but if you could do that too, that would be great.
Yeah, I will email the chair, and we will see
Okay.
if we can get that going. And
Right.
Tim, who also has been out, yeah.
But yeah, so then on a different topic, so part of the zoning ordinance amendments was that for commercial developments, the developer could either, put in a certain percentage of level 2 charging, or if they didn't want to do it at their site, they could contribute to a city fund, a payment in lieu of installing that. And so Nate in planning has been asking us, how much should we ask for? I mean, it just says the city can set the amount. So Clifton and I met with Nate, and Nate asked me for a whole bunch of our previous work, all the RFP responses that we got last year, like how much does it cost to put in a couple of level 2 ports? And do you want to give a summary of what we came up with for him? Because Plug-in America has been asking me, what did you settle on? And we haven't really settled yet.
Well, there were a couple or 3 different of the proposals or pricing that we had gotten for different situations.
Right.
That he, I think, wanted to meet with Tim and try to sort of figure out something that could be consistently applied in terms of, or the thought of either sort of a liquidated dollar amount or a specific project that they could
Yeah.
get done. You know, if they had an obligation to do two, normally, then if they covered two somewhere else, that would be a way to do it. I don't know. I think they also were expecting you to send some more information, or,
Yes,
Nate was.
and which I did. I
Yeah.
looked through both the RFP responses and the estimates that we had put together
Right.
when we were making federal grant applications, and I sent all that to Nate. Just to get specific for you all, so this isn't all like vague cloud in the sky, there is a developer who's redeveloping a gas station in West Lebanon. He doesn't particularly want level 2 charging on his site, and no EV driver would want to use a level 2 charger at a gas station. And so it's a perfect opportunity to say, okay, in lieu of that, give us some money. We had general agreement that the amount should be enough to cover the cost of putting in the EV charging somewhere else.
Right.
Like the real life costs, not just what he saves from not having to do it at his development. But then the question is, okay, what is that cost? And we have these estimates, we can give a general ballpark. I think Nate suggested that especially this first time, we say, okay, you're gonna be a test case, you know, we wanna put it here. And his thought too was, if we can, locate that charging close to that development. So in West Lebanon and our previous applications for federal money, we had identified some sites on Main Street, especially the Mascoma Bank parking lot, which they agreed to let us use, you know, basically for free. And we could say to the developer, okay, instead of putting it on your property, we're gonna put it here, and whatever that costs, you agree to contribute. And that'll sort of give us a sense of what it costs, because these estimates in the RFP, we don't know if that's real life until we actually do it, right? Now, every site is gonna be different. Like, whatever it costs to do that may be simple if there's a good electrical source, but if you need to put it someplace else where you have to upgrade the electrical or put in a lot of conduit, it's gonna be different every time, right? So it's hard to set one contribution. So that's kind of where we're at, and Nate was gonna talk to Tim, and we'll move forward somehow from that. And I sent him everything we have, you know, on the costs. So there's that. Ben and I have been involved with John, he'll talk about it soon, I guess, on this heat pump grant application. As part of that, and I know this is on the agenda later, but we may be starting up a tentatively named Western New Hampshire Sustainability Hub. And I could talk about that a little more on the new items agenda when we get there. And that involves the EVs a little bit.
Tesla chargers, new ones?
Oh, yeah, okay, so relatively a lot of new chargers since the last time we met. There is a fast charger in Norwich at Dan and Witt's that a local resident paid for. Whoever it is, he's got a lot of money, but there it is, a fast charger and level 2s at Dan and Witt's. There's something like 8 or 9 fast chargers now in White River Junction in the municipal parking lot behind Northern Stage. It's as well as level 2s. In West Lebanon, right behind, in the back parking lot of the Powerhouse Mall behind Eastern Mountain Sports, you know, near LL Bean, Tesla has put in like 20 new fast superchargers.
Wow.
Yeah, I took a picture. It's still under construction, or was a week or so ago. And that's a perfect location for it in terms of the parking lot, which was way underused. And it's right by, you know, a restaurant and shops and a mall and bathrooms and food and all of that.
And a path that goes up to the skateboard area.
Yeah, right. And so that's lovely. It's still not downtown Lebanon or northern or eastern Lebanon. It's all West Lebanon, and it's not Main Street West Lebanon, but, you know, it's still good.
Does anybody know if that will be open to non-Teslas or the current one? is that open to non-Teslas now, or is that just Tesla?
It's only the old ones. Some of the old ones are not because they don't have the software to accept the handshake and all that. But the new ones all seem to be. And all the new EVs anyway are built with the NACS port, not with the old J1772.
It's basically a guarantee then 20 new ones will work with non-Teslas.
Yeah,
The ones over
Right.
by Price Chopper, not so much.
right.
Yeah, I mean, they actually have there's one of the sites, I bought an adapter for my Ioniq 5 and I want to try it out before I travel. But then I saw it's not even on Tesla's website listed as one that is open to other vehicles.
Right.
Because
you
it's
can't
an
use
older
Price
one.
Chopper, right.
Yeah,
Yep.
Right, yeah, no, that's too old.
okay, interesting.
But these
New
ones going,
ones, yes.
but the ones in White River Junction will probably be done sooner. And they probably have both NACS and the other port.
Yeah, yeah.
And so you could try the NACS one with your adapter and see if it works.
Yeah.
I'll bet they're up and running by now. They were pretty close to finish a couple weeks ago.
Yep, great.
And there's the one in Norwich, which is up and running. I don't know what they've got for ports, but,
Right.
and I think that's it. Anything else EV-wise? I don't think so. Onward.
Onward. That's great. There's some progress. Good progress. So we have a list of priorities, and we've been talking about the energy efficiency in city buildings. Next month, our meeting's going to be at the new firehouse. It begins at 1 o'clock. We'll get a tour, and so we'll get to see what energy efficiencies were built into the new firehouse.
If I'm,
Yes,
maybe
sure.
for the agenda, I believe, besides blocking out time for the tour, that the chief is gathering some of the designers or engineers who did these. So there'll be an opportunity to perhaps sit down and interact with them before or during the tour. Maybe you want to touch base with the chief on the format, but I just, in setting the agenda, just maybe provide time at the end for any additional discussion with the folks that are there on behalf of the fire
Yeah,
station design.
good. Thank you. I will,
Because when we're thinking about other buildings, we may be provoked with some ideas that, oh, could this be done somewhere else in the city or something?
exactly. So I know, Chair, you just gave your subcommittee report and EV charging funding pursuing. I think that's like a constant.
Yeah, although the most promising thing was this discussion with Nate. I mean, developers, this was the first developer who now qualifies as he doesn't want to do it at his site, he'll contribute money. So hopefully more money will be coming in that way. And one of the things we talked about was, having it go towards a specific installation versus just go into a pot of money. Because maybe over time, with enough contributions to that pot of money, we could put in a fast charger
Right.
instead of level 2.
Yeah.
So that's the promising thing for now. But of course, we're still pursuing grants here and there, still waiting for the state any minute now to tell us about the grant money they have so we can apply for it. But Doug, have you heard anything new on that? All right, there's supposedly money out there, but we'll see.
It seems as though I skipped over the Lebanon Energy Saving Program.
There's nothing new to report. Working on the grant application took precedence over. Woody and I have gone to the farmer's market a couple of times and contacted brochures. The Resilient Buildings Group says we've generated maybe 20 applications for weatherization. And for all our contact with landlords, only one landlord has participated in the program as a result of Woody and my publicizing.
It's a lot of work. You've done a lot of good work. I think, the CPACER city adoption, there's been talk about creating a public meeting, bringing
I, I,
this,
I think you're talking about the meeting of large energy users. And then we would also tell them about CPACER. Do you mean that?
right,
Yeah.
right, so,
Well, but the first question is council adoption of it. Did that occur?
Oh, that's done. That's a done deal.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, that was
I'd forgotten.
a couple months ago. So we are a CPACER district,
Okay,
and someone recently used it here in Lebanon. What was it to, the Brickyard has used CPACER to fund some of the, because it's not just for energy efficiency, but resiliency. They used
Right.
it for some of the plumbing work or something. I don't know, I forget. But, so it's being used. So it's great that we.
Storm drainage, site drainage.
Yes, that. So, great. It's great that we created it. Go team.
That's interesting.
and I don't know if there's any updates on any of the others. But I know there's some good conversation in our new business. So the New England Heat Pump Accelerator Grant application, I've been copied on a lot of work.
We tried to spare you some of them, but.
No, that's fine. I just impressed and amazed. So is there update on that?
Go ahead, you're the,
Do you want to, you kicked it all off, so do you want to talk about it a little bit? I'll always jump in, but go ahead.
well, the application went in on time and was received, so and prospects for funding, we don't know of any other application from New Hampshire that's gone in this round, so there may be others, but we're quite hopeful that will be funded. The main components of the grant application that went in are, as I explained it in an earlier, projected at an earlier meeting, Head Start to heat pumps exposition with well-publicized and with educational presentations to the main focus being to prepare people, for people to realize the steps they need to take to prepare to change to heat pumps when their fossil fuel heat source does give out. Many people wait until that time and then it's too late to change because of the complexity of changing to heat pumps. Can't be done in this short time period. So many possible adoptions of heat pumps are lost to once the fossil fuel system's replaced, there's another 15 or 20 years before that household is going to. So there'll be some educational presentations and already kind of lined up who will be the main presenter. There'll be distributors represented. Somebody will fantasize setting up a heat pump and showing a window heat pump in operation. There'll be also installers present so that people can make appointments with them to have an assessment done of their house of what would their readiness be in terms of weatherization and what heat pumps would be optimal for their space and what might be the budget that they would be looking at. And there'll be weatherization contractors available and NH Saves. And at the conference, we would sign up people for the next component, which is energy navigators, who would meet with potential adopters on a regular schedule and help them with the hurdles, help remind them, somewhat similar to the very successful Solarize campaign, which is, I think they were called Solar Ambassadors.
Yep.
And we're
very successful in bringing people to actually fruition, to the
Right.
solar on the roofs. So the component energy navigators is projected to go for about 18 months after the energy conference. The third and the biggest monetary component is financial incentives to help households. We said we would direct them all toward low, moderate income households, which the heat pump accelerator program says is up to 150% of area median income, which is fairly high income. So we asked for, what was it, Sherry, $220,000?
Roughly that, yeah, the entire proposal was a little over 300,000, but for the rebates themselves, it was like 220, something like that.
And we didn't specify what the rebates would be per household. That'd be flexible. But we did suggest that they might be in the order of $10,000 for a very low income.
Actually, it was up to 15,000 for low income below 80% of AMI. And I think it was 4,000 for 80 to 150%.
So there'd be a lot of scrambling between finding out.
Sounds like it.
Between finding out probably in October sometime, and we projected the expo in April sometime. Between then, we have to set up educational system for installers, some kind of a qualification process for installers, and we have to set up the training program for the energy navigators and get that ready so that when people come into the conference, they're going to be able to sign up and have somebody to follow with them. So we're if we get this, we're going to be scrambling between November and April.
But we are good scramblers. I will say that John and I both noticed, hey, there's this pot of money, or is anyone do anything for this? And we got in touch, and John had already thought of this expo idea. At just that time, I fractured a toe, which means I couldn't swim or ride my bike or take hikes. And so here I was sitting there all day feeling sorry for myself. So I joined up with John, and we pulled in team members from Enfield Energy Committee, Sustainable Hanover, and Vital Communities. And the team, with a very short deadline to get this application filed, we came up with it. We got estimates. If Vital Communities organizes the expo for us, what would that cost? We consulted with Monadnock's Sustainability Hub. I mean, we did a lot, when we pulled in lots of estimates and things, and we got it. And it's the Upper Valley Lake Sunapee Regional Planning Commission, and Upper Valley Lake Sunapee Regional Planning Commission, which is the primary applicant. So they're the ones handling all the federal paperwork and everything and administering the grant. We have in the budget that their staff will be the ones who help us set up the Energy Navigators program. So there's some administrative help there. And the program, they're giving grants of $100,000 to $500,000, and they guarantee at least one grant for each state in each of the 3 rounds of funding, which is this one, early 2027 and later in 2027. So who knows if we have a good chance or not, but you got to be in it to win it, and we got in it.
The application is about 40 pages long.
Yeah.
Sherry rewrote, edited all of those.
Well, John sat down and banged it out, and then he went on vacation out in the wilds of Michigan, and I rewrote it, and, we got everyone together, and it worked.
But some of the questions had a 750-word limit. Sherry had 750 words. on those questions. There was, there- As with all grant applications, there were a lot of repetitive questions that.
But I figure if we could do
I just
that.
told you all that in the question before, so Sherry had to find another way to say it and emphasize.
Well, we had to scramble to get this in. If we get the grant, if we have to scramble to get ready for the expo, we can do it. We totally can do it.
I went on vacation in the middle of a family vacation and really left in Sherry's hands. When I came back and reviewed it, I was kind of impressed. I thought, gee, this is pretty good.
But it really helped to have a first draft, I'm sure, critical.
Right.
And with no AI. No AI.
No AI.
All right.
No AI.
Sherry intelligence, that's not.
Yeah.
Well, and that's kind of sort of a good segue to talking about the sustainability hub.
Yes.
Because, I mean, I've been eyeing the Monadnock Sustainability Hub for some time because they're doing great work down there, and they started up, they call it energy coaching. We are calling it energy navigators because that's what the grant people like to call it. But just this year in May, they started offering grants up to $7,000 for, it could be heat pumps, could be EVs, could be insulation work, weatherization. It could be for almost anything that'll reduce greenhouse gases at your house. And they've raised money and they're just giving them out right and left. And of course, everyone's perked up and they've gotten a lot of applications for the money and they've got a lot more people stepping up saying, I'll be an energy coach. I want to do this. So as part of this grant, I called together a meeting, 16 people showed up at a Zoom meeting to talk about, should we do that here? And tentatively, because this is just how I conceived of it, I propose that it be within the boundaries of the Upper Valley Lake Sunapee Regional Planning Commission, because they're willing to be our group to seek federal money. If we ever want to seek grants, we could do that.
Good idea.
And that way too, it covers dozens of communities. I forget how many, down to Claremont and a little lower and not too much north of here, and then east. So it's a lot of different communities, not just our little core. And I didn't want to put the name Upper Valley on the name of the group because a lot of those communities, they don't consider themselves part of the Upper Valley. I know people who live in Grantham, and they're like, oh, no, Upper Valley is you guys in Hanover. We're not Upper Valley. So
They share the Lebanon school system. They're part of the Upper Valley. Do they like it or
I know,
not?
but they do not identify with that. So I'm proposing we call it the Western New Hampshire Sustainability Hub, because if other areas followed that model and took the boundaries of the regional planning commissions, you could have 8 or 9 hubs around New Hampshire doing this.
The one thing about that is the Keene area, which is in some ways the most western part of the state because of the way it's.
Which is in the Monadnock Sustainability
Right.
Region.
Which is why some entities like mental health ended up with West Central. So I just wonder, I think, does Upper Valley, Lake Sunapee, yeah, they include the New London
Oh, yeah.
and Sunapee and
Yeah.
Newberry area, which really is more central New Hampshire. So I think West Central is something to consider.
Yeah, well, don't get hung up on the
I
name
won't. Okay,
because,
sorry.
other people are saying, well, I don't like the word sustainability in the,
No, that's key to the
So it's all tentative where we left it. I had this meeting as we were developing the grant because I wanted to be able to say in the grant, and separate from us, but happening simultaneously, this hub is forming. And after the grant period is done, they will carry on the work of the grant. They'll have Energy Navigators program, and they'll give out grants to continue enabling all this. So at the meeting, everyone agreed that I could say that in the grant. And the next steps, everyone thought that rather than forming our own nonprofit, we should find an established nonprofit to be our fiscal sponsor. Could be Vital Communities, could be a woman from the New Hampshire Network put me in touch with another group that is the fiscal sponsor for like the Mesh Bag Mamas and some other things. So I told them nothing's happening until we get this grant filed, and then I went on vacation. So now's the time we're gonna come back to it and say, okay, core group of people, because the core group of that 16 said, let's look into this further. That we're going to contact nonprofits, Clean Energy New Hampshire, whoever, to see, would you be our fiscal sponsor? And what would that entail? You know, a 5% cut for you, a 15% cut for you? I mean, I think Vital Communities may already have a sense of what they'd want to do with it, but they're New Hampshire and Vermont. And so that's just the next step, is to see if we can have a fiscal sponsor and continue exploring what would this be, and then have another meeting to pull people together and say, here's the possibilities, which way should we go?
The core idea, and one that we presented as an advantage in the grant, is that volunteers are a real resource, and this volunteer navigator coaching is a real help, but it's too much for any given energy committee in a local
Right.
town, city, to manage that program. It needs staff. So one of the learnings from Monadnock and from Addison County was that it needs staff support. Staff support for the volunteers is really important. So this an energy hub we presented as an innovation that could be replicated at other places across the state and utilize the resource of volunteers.
Nice.
And I want to add one aspect to John's description of our grant proposal. The grant specifically, as he said, is for, they want to be helping low and moderate income residents. And one of the reasons we asked to be able to give up to $15,000 to low-income households, which is much higher than NH Saves or other places, is because nobody really knows what does it take to help a low-income household get a heat pump. Because it's not just the heat pump, it's the insulation and weatherization and, you know, is it, what kind of heat pump? And so we asked for a lot, but we told them our focus, and the point is to help 29 low and moderate income families, which isn't a lot. We're not trying to maximize it. It's a demonstration program to find out, in reality, what does it take? You know, hand-holding from the energy navigators plus how much money? And that's the information we will share at the end of the grant that could influence other incentive programs.
That's a major priority of the New England Heat Pump Accelerator Program, but it's a real weakness of the program is that they haven't mapped out any way of helping low-income people.
Oh,
Monadnock doesn't prioritize helping low-income people. Addison County doesn't help low-income people. Nationally, very small percentage of the funding for heat pumps and other electrification goes to low-income households. So we promise to innovate in this.
excellent.
And then this is for heat pump hot water heaters too, not just air source heat pumps.
So, did you, were you able to take a look at the correlation between CPCNH membership and this region that we might expand to?
You mean the hub idea?
Yeah,
Oh, speaking of which, really big news. Grafton County formally joined the Community Power Coalition. They were admitted just at our beginning of August meeting.
Woohoo!
Sullivan County's already a member, and Merrimack County's a member. So the entire Upper Valley Lake Sunapee region is represented either by direct members or county members. So every one of these towns you could opt in, because, you know, I'm kind of thinking the same thing, is the Community Power Coalition could be helping sponsor this and eventually maybe help support staff for this or whatever. It is, you know, Nashua is using a discretionary adder to their rate, or were using it until their rate went higher than Eversource. But with that, they were launching a similar sort of innovative pilot program to help homeowners go through the process of not just heat pumps, but making energy efficiency investments.
So it could become a programmatic aspect
Yeah.
of CPCNA.
That would be awesome too. So when we get our core group back together, I'm going on vacation again in a week. So we're talking September really, because I'm the one who's kind of driving this. We'll reach out to CPCNH and Clean Energy New Hampshire and Vital Communities.
But a
and-
lot of the towns are as well. And Claremont isn't, but Cornish and, of course, Plainfield and New London, Grantham, Lebanon, Enfield.
Claremont's not in CPC?
No, they're not in any program, yeah. But through Sullivan County, people can at least opt in. Or towns, what we were headed towards is towns can actually launch on an opt-in basis through a county program or opt-out basis, on an opt-out basis. If the governing body, which means the Board of Selectmen, vote to launch with the county program, they can launch a whole community on an opt-out basis through the county program without going through the town meeting process or adopting their own aggregation plan, because they're working through the county aggregation plan. And we helped develop for Cheshire County, and then also applied it to Merrimack, which is, did launch a few towns on an opt-out basis, but Sullivan's only been available on an opt-in basis. And of course, Grafton County is probably premature, although there may be a small town or two no, probably not. Lyme's also a member. So we've got a good number of municipal members as well. And those folks, the member representatives, are almost always on the local energy committees as well.
Did we need LEAC to make any affirmation of this grant application?
No, because it's the Regional Planning Commission.
Right.
We were allowed to have 3 attachments to help support our thing, and then they wanted 3 references, which I've never seen in a grant before. And so we had the 3 city managers of Lebanon, Hanover, and Enfield, because those are our 3 communities we're focusing on in the grant. Those were our references. And the attachments were a letter from Resilient Buildings Group and what they offer if we choose to work with them. A document that showed the results from the Solarize campaign from a decade ago, and something
Clean
else in
Energy New
there.
Hampshire.
I'm sorry?
Clean Energy New Hampshire also wrote about it.
And Clean Energy New Hampshire. Yeah, they did, but was that the 3rd one that we submitted? I guess it was, yeah.
Sounds like a winner to me.
It actually reads pretty good. It all depends on who's the competition and, is 300 too big for helping 29 families? And yeah, we'll see. We'll see. On a slightly different note, if I can, I sent this to the EV subcommittee members, but a news article crossed my eyeballs this week that I saw in the Plug in America newsletter. And there's a new twist to EV incentives that I think makes a lot of sense that's now happening in California, which is to offer incentives only to new buyers of EVs. Because the data shows once people get an EV, they don't go back. They stick with the EV instead of gas. There's a tiny, tiny percentage of people who don't. And so if you can get them to buy that first EV, and so they've replaced the disappeared federal incentives with a good chunk of money in California if you're buying your first EV, whether new or used. So that's something we should all be thinking about as,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's some good work.
Thank you, Sherry, John.
Yeah.
And then also in new business was the item of identifying homes with the best solar potential.
Oh, yeah, that was me too. Just because the Sustainable Hanover meeting, which I attended to pitch this hub and grant thing, they worked with Revision Energy and a group of Dartmouth students in a class. And it was the guy from Revision who helped them do this. They can, using all kinds of software that I don't understand, geospatial and satellite. They looked at all of the homes in Hanover and picked out the ones that would benefit the most from getting solar. And I have the most feasible solar location and sunshine and all of that. And so they narrowed it down to like 100 homes. And that's who the committee is going to go after now. And like, wouldn't that be great to have that in Lebanon, right? Who doesn't have solar that would really be a good solar site? And I just bring it up in case anyone wants to pursue that at some point. It's been done, so.
I think about that as I walk through neighborhoods. Like, that person's got a really good roof for solar.
Exactly, and then they do it all remotely. It's like,
How are they contacting the property owners?
I don't know. I mean, all I know is almost just what I told you, but
Well,
I have the contacts.
when the day comes, when Lebanon Community Power can be direct off-takers of solar projects, that we've always imagined that we would be incentivizing people, or we would offer to put in a system, and, they pay us for some of that power instead of the utility, and they have a lower stable price. And we get to resell the surplus power to your neighbor. That's what we want to do. That's why we were funded to exist.
Well, I'll tell you what, I have the contacts of the team that worked on this, including the revision guy. And so I'll send it around, file it away for such time as it might be useful, or give them a call and talk. Because I can't do it, but I think it's a good idea.
Well then, we are open for anything that the public would like to share.
For me today,
Okay, good.
taking it in like a sponge.
Yeah, it's a lot to take in.
It is.
And upcoming events, we didn't put anything down, though, of course, our next meeting in September will be at the firehouse.
Right.
That's an upcoming event. Future agenda items also, there were none offered. So that brings us to adjournment.
I move that we adjourn.
40 seconds.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye, aye, aye.
Aye, okay. And opposed?
We don't have to do a roll call.
Exactly.
No, we don't. We're all here. We're all here.